Good evening and welcome to the Monday, January 18th, 2021 meeting of the East Lancaster Township Board of Supervisors. I'll call the meeting to order and Ralph Hutchinson will play a short recording.
Hello and welcome to the East Lancaster Township public meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. Due to the COVID-19 virus and Governor Wolf's orders limiting indoor gatherings, in-person attendance for this meeting is being limited to a maximum of 25 people who will be observing social distancing. Additionally, based upon the order of the Secretary of Health regarding face coverings, all participants in the public meeting room are required to wear a face covering unless they fit into one of the order's exceptions. When speaking, while maintaining social distance, participants may remove their face covering. Therefore, this meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. The Township is expecting to utilize this vehicle for all future public meetings during and after the COVID-19 crisis. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website and will be posted on the front of the Township building. The Township will also be recording the meeting and making it available for viewing via the Township website and YouTube channel. While every effort will be made to ensure the live streaming and website are working, East Lancaster Township takes no responsibility for and cannot be held liable for the unavailability of live streaming in part or in full due to technical issues beyond its control. Live streams and recordings of all meetings remain the property of East Lancaster Township and are protected by copyright. Access to live streams and recordings of meetings is provided for personal and non-commercial use. Video, images, and audio must not be altered, reproduced, or republished without permission of East Lancaster Township. It is suggested that all participants on Zoom mute their microphone during the meeting until they wish to speak, make a motion, or vote. All votes will be taken by roll call so that they can be properly recorded. In order to accommodate public comments at this meeting, the Township will be accepting public comments in writing or via email. Instructions for the submission of public comments are available on the Township website. All those providing public comments will be required to provide their name and address in order for their comments to be read into the record. Inappropriate comments will not be read into the record. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Okay. Do you have any issues? Good to go?
Nope, we're good to
Okay,
go.
sounds good. Okay, in the meeting room, we have Supervisor Dave Buckwater, Vice Chair John Blowers, Chairman Corey Meyer, and Supervisor Ethan Demme. Supervisor Glenn Everly is not on the Zoom or present here. In the room, we also have Township Manager Ralph Hutchinson and Tara Hitchens, our Director of Zoning, on the Zoom. Okay, we've called the meeting to order, and let's pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the agenda, we have public comment for non-agenda items only. Are there any public comment? Hutch?
I've not received anything.
Okay. I'm assuming you're here for an agenda item. Okay. Okay, not seeing any public comment. We'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 4A, approval of the minutes of the Monday, January 4th, 2021 regular meeting. We have 4B, approval to pay invoices from all funds. It's a total of $383,299.84. There's one item of note for that total. It's $10,095.73 to American Rock Salt Company for bulk road salt. And lastly, we have 4C, request for release of financial security for EB 610 Millcross Road, and that is a full release for that property. Those are the items for the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thanks, John.
Second?
Second by Dave. Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Nope. Okay. Since we're all in the room, it's a great thing. We can do all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. 6A, we had McDonald's Land Development Plan 2018, including zoning issue regarding parking for Lincoln Highway East, East Town Center. We've learned that the applicant's asking us to essentially table this to, I believe, our next meeting, right? Hutch, February
Yes,
2nd.
February 1. Yep.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so I'll accept the motion to table 6A.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Dave, second by Ethan. Any public comment for the tabling? Okay, any public comment? Actually, from the board first? No? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent, thank you. Okay, 6B, we have King Lot Add-on Plan 2019, 12 Hedgewood Avenue. I just want to state your name and the floor is yours. Yeah, Roger, probably the best thing is just speak as close. You might want to raise it up a little. Sorry, I didn't recognize you. I've definitely met before. Yeah, if you want to raise it up and just speak directly in. If you want to put the plan here, you can as well.
Can pull his mask off. 'Cause
Yeah, if you want to take the mask off while you're there, you're socially distanced enough. That's fine as well. That's fine.
It's good. We got copies.
Yeah,
We got
we
one,
can do
Roger.
as well.
Yeah, we got it. We got a
Yep,
small copy.
you can pull it out. There you go. Perfect.
Levi King, owned the property at 12
Yep.
Hedgewood Avenue. Hedgewood is right in Lancaster. It's a dead-end street, fairly narrow. The neighboring property at 8 is owned by, I believe there's a family connection between the two, but it's, owners have been neighbors for a number of years. I believe that the property number 8 is scheduled to be sold in the near future. And Mr. King's property, or Mrs. King's property line, nearly right against their house. It's
Yeah.
2 or 3 feet away from the house. So they have to buy 9 feet of property
Yeah.
to make their property a bit more convenient. We've asked for a few waivers here. The first is preliminary plan, which I think is fairly standard waiver in a site like this. And the second is plan scale. We've drawn it at a larger scale than the ordinance requires.
Right.
To make it a little bit easier to read. We've also asked for a deferment of the street improvements, including improvements to the street itself and curb and sidewalk. Again, I don't want to belabor it because this is fairly common when you come before the board. Number 6 on the review is to list any action to be taken. We certainly will do that. Under general comments, I had removed some Laycock Township references. I get caught copying notes sometimes. So,
Understood.
and I missed a couple, so I think I fixed that
Okay.
issue. And the plan has been forwarded over to your engineer.
Yep.
About a week and a half ago or so. Under zoning, we've addressed that issue. I think it's okay, and we'll wait for David Miller's response on that. On driveway intersections, the buildings are very close to the roadway. We really can't meet the letter of the law on the driveway intersections as far as clear sites, but we do have adequate safe stopping distance, and again, it's a dead-end road.
Right.
There are, I believe, 2 homes to the east of the King properties. Traffic there. Under subdivision and land development, David Miller's indicated that they would verify the accuracy of our legal descriptions. We are pretty careful about checking those when they're created. Number 2, there are, the property number 8 is a clearly
purely a shared driveway. There's no written documentation. We're in the process of preparing that. The east driveway will prepare one. There is actually connected driveways that could be separated, but we're going to be providing those agreements.
Okay.
Number three, I did not provide the sealed letter. We actually set the pins with property today.
Okay.
We passed the planning commission level before we actually made that effort.
Okay.
Under county planning commission comments, there are no comments to add their file number, so I didn't have a written response to it. It's just a one comment.
Yep.
Their number two comment is always just the advice to contact them before we bring plans in, and these days we're able to just mail it.
Right.
So we're hoping to approve our
Yep.
request for a written
Okay. Okay, so gentlemen, we have the DMA letter, January 8th, 2021, and then we have Roger's response on January 11th, 2021 to the DMA letter. I'm assuming there would be another DMA letter in response to Roger's letter, or is it pretty much because he's agreed that he's going to do X, Y, and Z?
Just in response to that, I did email the review, my response to the
Yeah.
last review to David Miller and the
Yeah.
township, and Scott Payne got back to me and said they would look at it as soon as possible.
Okay.
I don't know if they have
Okay. Any other comments?
David Miller would typically generate another
Letter.
comment letter
Yeah.
in response to.
Got it.
Rogers.
Okay. Okay. Gentlemen, pretty straightforward, small addition to a property. Any questions for Mr. Fry? No. Okay. Any other comments? Accept the motion, then we can get any additional comments.
I'll move we approve the plan for Levi King property, contingent on the letter dated January 8th from David Miller, granting the waiver number 1 and number 2, and deferring the waiver request for 3, 4, and 5 regarding curbs, sidewalks, road frontage improvements. And I guess that one was on Site Triangle, was it not? No, it was widening. And basically, my motion would be contingent upon the January 8th letter.
Okay. So a motion contingent on the January 8th DMA letter.
I'll second the motion,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Motion made by Dave,
Yep.
seconded by John.
Yep.
Any other comments from the board?
None for me, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
Any comments from the public?
Gentlemen, the planning commission required that there be shared driveway and access agreements.
Yep.
I think that was
That was in
covered,
the-
that was
in the
covered in
DMA
the
letter.
letter, in the
Okay,
review letter.
Yeah.
And I was basing my motion on the review letter. So
Yeah.
the review
Thank
letter
you
was
for the-
requesting that.
Yep.
thank you.
Before we vote, any clarification, any questions? Okay. Okay. No other comments from the public? I'm sorry. Ralph? No,
No.
we're good. Okay. All those in favor for that motion? Aye? Signify by saying aye. Okay. No opposed? Okay. Passes. Thank you. Thank you, Roger. Yeah,
Thank you, Roger. Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have 6C, informal discussion regarding residential limits in Business Park Zoning District. Hi, associates. Looks like we have Brad and Ken and anyone else? Oh, Mark. Hey, Mark. There you are. Okay. Who wants to go first?
Well, good evening, gentlemen. This is Ken Hornbeck. I'll start off if nobody minds.
Sure.
Welcome. Happy New Year to everyone. As Corey mentioned, in addition to myself, we have Brad Mowbray, Senior Vice President of Residential for High, and Mark Stanley, Land Use Counsel, with us here this evening. And as the agenda suggests, tonight we just wanted to have an informal conversation with the board about a possible text amendment that, depending on how the conversation goes this evening, excuse me, we would be bringing before the township following these meetings this evening. And as Corey mentioned, that text amendment request would be to remove the current cap on the number of multifamily units that we can build in Greenfield, as well as potentially remove the cap on the number of manufactured homes we could build in Greenfield. And those two types of housing are defined differently in the BP zoning language. So that's what we want to talk about. Just a little bit of history real quick to remind the board. It was over 10 years ago when we first approached the township to talk about creating a new zoning district for Greenfield. At one point we called it a mixed use district. We called it a couple things. But at the end of the day, through many different iterations, a lot of back and forth, a lot of help from the township and the township staff, we landed on the BP zone, which was adopted by the township in 2014, 15. Again, Tara, I always get this wrong. But about 5 years ago. And since then, as I think you recall, it's been amended a few times for various reasons, both by us as well as other landowners in the township. But the story we have to tell here is one of a continuing evolution of Greenfield. And the request that we're going to talk about tonight, we think, really allows that evolution to continue in a positive direction. As you all also may be aware, we've got a lot going on in Greenfield right now. We have a lot more planned that the board hasn't quite seen yet that will be forthcoming this year. But most recently, you probably are aware or have seen that we've gone through a rebranding of Greenfield. So, for example, whereas in the past, we're all familiar with what we might refer to as Greenfield Corporate Center, we're moving away from the corporate center designation. And from now on, we just refer to Greenfield as that, Greenfield. And in our minds and the way we've kind of rebranded Greenfield, it's a live, work, play, and stay destination, both for our tenants and our residents, but also for the township and people who may work and or live elsewhere and come into the township to take advantage of Greenfield. And you'll continue to see more about that evolution, both from a rebranding standpoint and the amenities that we're going to continue to offer and expand, in addition to the tenants that we've announced recently, such as Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology or Armstrong Flooring or others. So Greenfield today is different than what Greenfield might have been 10 years ago. And we'll talk a little bit more about kind of what makes up Greenfield. We'll throw some exhibits on the screen for everyone to look at. But really the underlying kind of drive here is to allow Greenfield to continue that evolution as a destination for offices, warehouse, flex uses, educational uses, retail and restaurant uses, hotels, and of course, residential. And currently, multifamily and the manufactured home type of product are the only two that have caps on the amount we can construct in Greenfield. And so that's what we want to talk about a little bit tonight, kind of why we think that the time is right to reconsider whether those caps should go away in their entirety. And we'll talk a little bit about why we think that makes sense. So that's why we're here, and we just look forward to any questions you all might have as we talk a little bit more about it. Brad, anything you want to add?
No, I think that was actually a really good summary, Ken. Thank you, and glad to see everybody, albeit through Zoom. The point I'd like to add to it is, given going back 10 plus years ago when this process started with the BP zone, it was probably never really contemplated that Greenfield would be also an education hub. And when you look at the Pennsylvania College of Health Sciences, Thaddeus Stevens, and some other education facilities, we're bringing over 2,000 students to the campus each day. And so, with that, just the evolution of how Greenfield has come to be and where we think it can potentially go in the future is really exciting. And it's built off of the better living, better business, better community, and being able to be good stewards to our community, through delivering great quality products and services for all of our tenants and all of our residents to be able to enjoy coming to Greenfield for the foreseeable future. And so, just appreciate the opportunity to be here in front of you and answer any questions. I do think some of the other topics that will come up as part of this conversation and ones we've heard in the past has to do with impacts on school districts and any new housing that comes into the marketplace. What does that look like? And from a factual perspective, I live in data all day, every day. And so right now, the two new communities that we recently completed, the Reserve at Greenfield, and while albeit it's in a different township, in Manheim Township, the Crossings at Conestoga Creek, the Crossings has a total of 5 households out of 258 units that have school-age children living there. That's 1.2% of that community. At the Reserve, it's 1.9%. So, one of the things that is brought up to me often is the impact that new housing has on school districts. And those are some data points that I look to and try to, make sure is factually reported. Even when you look at Greenfield Estates and some of the other communities that we own in and around East Lampeder Township, we're only in that 4 to 5% range for having 4 to 5% of our units have school-age children in them. So I do want to share that information with you all, and I'm happy to answer any additional questions you may have.
That's helpful. And one, I love these informal discussions. Frankly, I wish every developer would come to us with these discussions. They're always, I think, helpful for you guys and helpful for us as well. I do know, Brad, you mentioned the student housing and how many students are coming on campus or coming to Greenfield because of Pennsylvania College of Health Sciences and Stevens setting up shop there. The actual BP zone has a limit. Is that correct?
I can speak to that if that's okay.
Market rate housing, yes, it does. So
are you guys looking at? Yeah, sorry. I was going to say just back. Yeah, go, Brad. I'm sorry. This is what the problem is.
The current cap is 775 market rate units allowed within the business park zone.
Okay.
And to date, we have 453 between Greenfield Estates and the Reserve at Greenfield.
Yeah, I guess my question was, if you have 2,000 plus students and that BP zone is limiting how much student housing, do you believe that there's going to be a greater need for student housing, not, specifically for students? Clearly a student could, live in some of the other, facilities you've already built or are building, but specifically student housing, do you believe there's going to be a need for additional student housing?
Well, and Tara might be able to correct me, but I do not believe under the current language within the BP zone that there is a cap on student housing units. I'd have to, there are some nuances, but I don't think there's a specific cap there. To answer the question, there is? Okay.
Yes, it's 150 shall not exceed 150
Per lot.
Units per lot.
per lot.
Per lot.
Yeah, and Corey, I'll speak a little bit to kind of our ongoing conversations with some of our educational users in Greenfield. We have approached them in the past about their student housing needs. Right now, they have not said that they see a massive demand for just student housing. So in the way the current BP zone language is written, student housing is a defined term, and there are some things that go along with student housing that is specific to the student housing type of product. So I think you suggested it when you were talking. Market rate housing can be rented to students also,
right?
But student housing under the zoning ordinance is specifically for students and their families.
Right. Got it.
So we continue to have conversations with our educational tenants about their needs for student specific housing, and we've explored it a number of times and continue to do so. But we're just not there yet with them. We think eventually we will be, but right now we're just not.
Thank you. Other questions from board members?
Yeah, if I
Yep,
can, Mr.
John.
Chairman. Yeah, first of all, to the High folks, I just want to point out how exciting it is for me to hear Brad reference the crossings. I've always envisioned the metropolitan area being bisected by this multi-use trail. And when I first started talking about this 2012 or something, and threw out the name, the Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway, I don't think at the time High had planned, or at least wasn't public, for the crossings, the Conestoga crossings. But how unique it is that the two ends of this dumbbell, if you would, this trail. You got the Conestoga crossings, High on one side, a livable multi-use community, and now we've got Greenfield. So I just it's exciting, and I just want to thank High for continuing to see that vision and helping the metro area of Lancaster County to not only grow and prosper and make places for people to live, work, and play, but taking very serious the commitment to do it in a planned way. So High, all of you, thank you very much, and please communicate that to other members of your team. I think when we talked about this, and maybe Dave, you and I were the only ones on the board at the time, I guess. We heard from the public, we heard from the school district. I think there was a concern about the number of school-age children and not, and so forth. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Brad, and pointing that out. What I'm hearing is 4 to 5% school-age children. Is that correct, Brad?
Yes, when you look at the total number of units, the crossings and the reserve, which are two newest communities, are less than 2%. What we've found from our research in the people who have moved in is that at the reserve, for example, more than a third of the community is of 55 plus demographic, and over 40% is more of a millennial demographic, which is really interesting. And we have similar statistics over at the crossings and in some of our other communities. So it's really interesting to see, who's moving into these new communities that we've designed and built over the last few years. And I think there's just been an overwhelming demand for a lot of folks who are looking to downsize potentially out of a home and move into a high quality, almost condo-like community and home, but doesn't have necessarily all of the, if they want to travel or if they want to move, do other things, they're not spending time on cutting grass and taking care of their home per se. So it is interesting to see how that has evolved and what we've seen within our community so far.
Good. Yeah. So I'm assuming the vision that you're having a conversation with us about it at this time, gentlemen, is for potential unknown number of additional units over the 50 years that the build-out plan was designed for. You're not committing at this time, but you know that having a cap on it may not meet your business model, and the market may be looking for more than the cap that we've put on there. Is that what this is intended to communicate?
Yeah, John, I think that's John who was speaking, if I recognize his voice.
John.
Yeah.
It is Ken. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, the answer to your question is yes, but this is not an unlimited request, because at the end of the day, the Greenfield is really limited by the available lands we have yet to develop, and that's really not a lot as we sit here today. We do have some vacant land. We are working on some plans for the 25-acre tract across from Pennsylvania College of Health Sciences. And with your permission, I'd like to bring up an exhibit. It's kind of an overall master plan for Greenfield that might help remind the board what we have in place today and really what's remaining to be developed within Greenfield.
Yep, Ken, you should have access to do it. Bring it up.
Great. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So this is the most current one that I had to work with, but I will tell you it's not 100% accurate. But what we're looking at is kind of an aerial of Greenfield bounded by, Route 30 to the south. Of course, we do own some properties south of Route 30, some industrial type properties, but they are not in the BP zone, so they would not be affected by this text amendment if it moves forward. But Greenfield bounded by, or I should say the BP zone bounded by Route 30 to the south, Old Philadelphia Pike sort of to the east, Willow Road to the north. And just a reminder to the board, Willow Road is also the boundary of the urban growth boundary within Lancaster County. And then to the west, the Goat Path, or as we also are showing on here now, Walnut Street Extended project, which the board is very familiar with, that Tony Seitz is championing through PennDOT with the township's help and support. The Walnut Street Extended about 1.1 miles terminates at a roundabout, right now, and then heads east into Greenfield proper via Ben Franklin Boulevard, which intersects with Greenfield Road at the corner of the Pennsylvania College of Health Sciences. And Ben Franklin Boulevard now, if you've been out there lately, you'll see continues as paved all the way up to Willow Road. So what's not accurate about this? Well, I'll tell you what is accurate. This manufactured home component is Eastwood Village Phase 5. That's the component that we're just wrapping up site work on, and Brad and his team will be setting some model homes out there in a few weeks. Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology is under roof and under construction in this general area. This footprint is a little different than what's being built on Lot 5. Lot 3 is a vacant lot today. We're doing rough grading as part of the Ben Franklin Boulevard extension. Lot 2 is a lot that we are working on potential plans for submission to the township that would be a multifamily community. The number of units to be determined, but in part of our discussion tonight, we'll determine what that looks like in the future. Lot 6 to the south of Pennsylvania College of Health Science, currently vacant. This plan contemplated student housing at one point to the previous conversation, but nothing that we're actually doing as we sit here today. The reserve multifamily project is not shown on this aerial, but it sits generally here, just next to the existing church on Greenfield Road. Over here on Lot 10, one of these two buildings exists today. That's Community Services Group, which we delivered at the end of 2019, and they're thrilled with that building. These lots up along Old Homestead Lane, they're small in nature, it's vacant, but certainly given their size, couldn't accommodate a lot of multifamily on them, if any. It doesn't make sense for multifamily to try and squeeze those over there. Don't hold me to that in the future. And then Lot 1 up here on the corner of Hempstead Road and Greenfield Road. This concept master plan, at the time we put this together, envisioned a plus or minus 175,000 square foot and a medical office building, just because we were doing kind of a what if density plan. But what's not visible on here is about a third of this is where the Armstrong Flooring 2-building campus is currently under construction. So this Lot 1 can't look like this in the future. Whatever we do on Lot 1 in the future will be scaled down from this concept plan. So again, this needs a little updating. And then 3 lots next to the existing courtyard by Marriott, lots 7, 8, and 9, vacant. Don't know what's going to happen to them. But it goes to the question of, is this a request for unlimited amounts of multifamily? And in our minds, the answer is no, not really, because we're long-term holders of all of our real estate assets. You all are familiar with that. You've seen it over the years. We're really limited by what the planning might allow from a land development and density standpoint. So we think it makes sense if there's multifamily growth to be had in Greenfield to maximize the density on the lots that we're going to develop. And then, that preserves as much open space or other lots for other uses in the future. But again, it's within the urban growth boundary. This is where the comprehensive plan for the county wants to see the growth and, go up, not out with your design and your density. So that's kind of our thinking about how this would play out over the next 10 or 20 years. It's a snapshot in time today as we sit here tonight.
Yeah, it's helpful. Thank you.
Good. Thank you,
Yeah.
Ken.
Oh, sorry, John. John, additional question? You're good.
Thank
Dave?
Well, I don't have a lot of questions. I guess, are you considering the county-wide plan called Places 2040 regarding density as you consider these building projects? And also, I guess the other question I'd have would be whether there's any thought about affordable housing, if that's the correct term for that.
I'll answer your first question, and the answer is yes. So, we are an active participant in helping to offer our input and support in Places 2040 where we can. And that, I think that planning kind of dovetails with the township's philosophy on zoning. But it goes to my earlier point about that's why we think, more density on the available lots that we have that are zoned appropriately makes sense for multifamily or any other product type that we might be considering that's allowable in the BP zone. Brad, I'll let you field the question on affordable housing.
So for the affordable housing comment, one thing that I wanted to highlight is the rents of our communities right now that are within East Lampeter Township hit more of the workforce housing. They're fall in the 70 to 80% of area median income range. So by definition, they don't meet affordable housing, but they do support the workforce housing component. The other piece of it is when you look at the manufactured housing side of Eastwood Village homes, those homes, the existing ones generally can resell for anywhere from, $55,000 per home all the way up to some homes that are, brand new that are $175,000. And so, we think we're providing a good mix of value for a variety of residents that want to live in Greenfield, work in Greenfield, and being able to provide them, housing choices and housing options across the spectrum. We have not done affordable housing. That's not something that is something High has done in the past, but it's something that I know is a topic of conversation throughout the community at large.
Thank you.
Thanks. Ethan?
Ready for comments or questions?
Comments or questions?
Sure.
Or
Just one quick question and then a few comments. This might be more for Tara to answer. Do we currently have any other caps on units for any other uses other than housing in the business park district?
There are minor caps on retail sales associated with manufacturing or wholesaling. I think they're at 5,000 square feet or a percentage of the square footage of the whole unit. I think that really is all of the caps in the business.
Okay. So just some general comments. So generally, I like the idea. I definitely support more uses, and artificial caps I'm not a huge fan of in the first place. So the more types of housing we can have in there, I think giving regular people the choice of more choices of places that they could live and types of housing they could use, I think is always going to be a good thing. And any type of housing that's added will, if we have very high demand for housing in Lancaster County right now, and if you increase the supply at all, it's going to bring down the cost for everybody. So it really doesn't matter whether it's sort of luxury, which is another non-defined term, or affordable. It really doesn't matter. Any new housing is going to overall drop the cost for everybody. So you can use that sort of AMI target, or another way to look at it is, people should be targeting, 30% of their income on housing. So that may be different depending on what type of job you have, whether you're in middle management or working the 4 shifts, or you're a police officer or a school teacher, housing that fits that sort of 30% of income, I think would be my definition of that's, but that's also where our market rate is at. So the more housing we can have, the better, and meeting those needs, and given the available space, increasing the density would be fantastic. So the more density and mixes of uses, I think, gives people more choices and also gives us a more robust tax base moving forward. So I like the idea. I'm very supportive.
Yep. Good. Other comments from the board? I'll ask staff just to comment as well, if you guys have any comments you want to add. But any other comments from the board? Okay. Tara or Hutch, do you have anything you want to add? Any insight?
I'll let Tara think a moment. Or just the only
Sure.
thing I wanted to point out was that I don't believe that the housing component is limited only to currently vacant lands. So buildings within Greenfield could be converted to housing.
Okay. Excellent. So, yep. Got it. Tara, any other comments?
So that was going to go along with what I was going to say, and I was going to echo what Daryl Seesholt said during the Planning Commission meeting. And he basically said, just the Rockville overlay, it really is in details of how we come up with the language of the text amendment. We know High is a long-term landowner in the township currently and for a foreseeable future. We just don't know forever.
Yep. Understood. Good. Yeah, I want to echo Ethan's comments, allowing the market to define, what's necessary. I agree with that comment. I agree with the more housing, hopefully that would provide more choices for people, as well as hopefully keep it, somewhat affordable. I know that's I understand your 30% of income number. I understand Brad's comment of the 70 to 80% of median income. Yeah, I mean, again, overall, the more opportunities we can to give people choice. I love the idea of people being able to live and hopefully be able to walk to their place of work, frankly, their place of worship, or even their school. And frankly, that would be a place that I would want to live as well. So I agree with John's comments as well on the barbell concept of both of these developments on either side of the city that are doing that. So, and I also am very happy to hear and see that this is connected to Lancaster County Planning Commission's 2040 plan with their, I believe it's 9 units per acre. Is that correct in the urban growth area? That's what they suggest in their plan.
For the central Lancaster
Yes.
County growth
Yep.
area, 9 is would be sort of the minimum here.
Right. And we have infrastructure there. And again, we have, jobs there. We have hopefully a road soon. If people do have to get in their car and potentially work in the city, they'll be able to, quickly jump on Walnut Street Extension and go west directly into the city in probably less than 5 minutes, which will be amazing as well. So again, I'm supportive. I'll echo again to all developers that might watch us at some point. These informal discussions are what good government's all about. It's about transparency. It's about us hearing these plans in the public so we can help, define what we want and define our vision, and hopefully hear your vision, and hopefully those things match up, which it sounds like is the case. Any other comments from the board?
If I can,
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Ken and or Brad, or even staff, Ralph or Tara, has there been any discussion or presentation of this information to the school board at this point?
Not at this point. We heard that suggestion from another township staff member, and we will do so as part of our formal process through the text amendment coming forward.
I think, Ken, it just makes community sense. Let's keep the effort at transparency moving along. I don't hear anything from this board at all that we're shying away from having the conversation about what we value what we see in the value of the overall plan and the additional housing units, whatever those may be. And so I think, you'll certainly have a very robust group of advocates here for this with the school board if need be. But I'm glad to hear that you're going to approach the school board on this. Let's keep it moving and keep the plan moving forward. And if we need to, we could certainly join you and sit in on some of those meetings with the school board if need be. So.
Appreciate that offer. We may take you up on it. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, Ethan?
Two other quick comments. Since this is a business park zone, I do hear staff's comments of it could all become residential. It might be worthy to look at a percentage of acreage dedicated to housing or a cap as opposed to units, capping the acreage. That's the end of that. That way, because the goal of a business park is to have mixed uses. So keeping those mixed uses in there with a percentage might be a better way than units, because that also then incentivizes density, which is in line with our plan. The second comment would be definitely communicate with the school board to let them know what's coming, but I'm in favor of children. Children aren't a bad thing. We do need another generation, so it's great having older folks and people living in apartments without lots of kids, but our future does depend on having lots of kids, so I'm not against kids. I'll go on the record.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure the school district would love very few students and an increase in tax base. So, but yeah, I appreciate it. John, thanks for bringing up the discussion with the school district. I'm sure these guys will have that discussion. Any questions from high representatives to us for any distinct? I do like your idea about the percent. I think that's a great idea, and frankly, would probably, keep it at that. Exactly. Any questions from high representatives?
No, we really appreciate the feedback. We appreciate the support that you've suggested, and we'll definitely be back to talk some more. And we'll let you know how it goes when we're ready to reach out to the school board as well.
Great. Okay, sounds good.
Thank you all.
Any questions from the public to high representatives? Okay, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. We have 7A, resolution appointing CPA firm to complete 2020 audit. Hutch, any comments on that?
This is an annual process. Whenever township's going to appoint a CPA, it needs to be done through resolution. We had to advertise the fact that you're going to consider this at least 30 days in advance, which we have done. And so it's ready for your consideration.
Okay, make a motion that we adopt the resolution number 2021 dash.
Whatever it becomes.
We number it after it's adopted so that we don't
Got it. Yep. Appointing a CPA firm to complete the 2020 audit.
Made second. I just want to make a comment. It's to actually for the firm of Mayor Duzel, Certified Public Accountants. Just want to put that out in the public. They have been our accountants for about 3 or 4 years now.
Yes, at least.
Yep. Okay. Great. So we have a motion made, second. Any other comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Okay, all those in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Great. Okay, next on the agenda, we have 8A. We have manager's report request for speed limit change, Eastbrook Road, Route 896. I'll pass that to Hutch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We received a request under the policy that was adopted by the board not too long ago, but a little while ago, which outlined how residents could make the request to deal with a speeding concern. So we received this request in December. It was processed through the policy whereby Charlie received it, forwarded on to the police department to gather crash data. In addition, we did put up the speed timing signs that we have on Eastbrook Road and gathered some data that way. And so I tried to summarize it here in a memo. The one item that I'd like to point out is that the gentleman who submitted the request, Mr. Quinn, was not able to or chose not to gather signatures from anyone along Eastbrook Road.
Okay.
Or in his neighborhood. He doesn't actually live on Eastbrook Road either, but that was not consistent with the board's policy. But
Yep.
in any event, we put it through the process and bring it to you tonight. My recommendation, having looked at all the information gathered as part of the process, would be that the board consider authorizing staff to share the information that we gathered with Mr. Quinn and indicate that the formal request to change the speed limit on Eastbrook Road would not be submitted to PennDOT. It
Yep.
just doesn't seem
Right.
that at this time there's
Yeah.
a justification for that.
Right.
Additionally, you could direct staff to continue to maintain a police presence
Yep.
on Eastbrook Road and periodically deploy our signs to both alert the public
Yep.
as to their speed and gather data.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that recommendation. Just a quick question on the signs. How often are the signs actually out on a road? Or
I mean, we've been trying to keep them out there
Yeah.
consistently somewhere.
right, right.
So I would say it's at least every month
Okay.
where we have them somewhere.
Yeah. And those are the signs we just purchased recently last.
Well, we had one
Okay.
for quite a while.
Yeah.
And now we got the second one middle of last year, I think,
Okay.
roughly.
Okay.
And so we've been trying to
Yeah.
deploy it.
They made it to my road.
Did they? Yeah. Yeah. I often wonder, I mean, based on this data, my hypothesis was if people see the signs, they actually slow down. Well, clearly they don't. So,
Or they're slowing down to a
okay. Yeah,
high
sure.
speed still.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I agree with that recommendation. Any other comments from the board on this?
Just a
No.
quick comment,
Yeah,
the
please.
policy we have here, and this is one of, we sort of set that, that bar of trying to get 30% of the addresses to sign on to before it would come to us. So I appreciate staff for taking the initiative and just saying, all right,
Yeah,
gathering the
right.
information. But to me, if you're not willing to get the signatures,
Yeah.
or if there's not a groundswell, if it's just one
Right.
person who's disgruntled about speed, I can
Yeah.
find one on every street
Yeah.
in America.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm disgruntled about speed on my street.
Right, right. You know, I guess the thing, I first of all, I appreciate staff taking the extra step of going through the process. You could have killed the process right there. Through realizing we're in a global pandemic and there are a lot of houses between 340 and Route 30. I mean, he would have been out there for a long time collecting signatures.
Agreed.
So,
Well, he apparently tried.
did he? I didn't see
Well,
that.
he said due to a reluctance for anyone to sign a petition, I choose to obtain a few opinions
Oh,
from
that's
local
what that
residents,
says.
but he really,
Oh, God.
he tried and was unable.
Okay.
I think that's,
Yeah.
significant
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, understood. Okay, so at this point, we'll suggest the board that, or suggest to staff that the recommendation of what you suggested, of going back to Mr. Quinn and, if the police can do some additional work in that area and, occasionally have the signs there as well when they're not doing other studies, I think that would be helpful as well. Okay, great. We'll move on to the next item. We have B, request to DEP for delay in stormwater pollution reduction requirements.
Yes, in response to the discussions that the board has had over the last few meetings, and as requested, I did reach out to DEP. They were a little bit difficult to get a hold of because they're not working in their offices. So eventually I did get an email address for Mr. Arwood, who was our contact for all things stormwater. And he did respond to my email request and indicated that there's not a process to request a time extension, and this is related to the pollution reduction requirements that we have through 2023 at this point. He did say I've had a couple of similar inquiries, but I suspect many others are thinking along the same lines. He goes on, as you may know, MS4 general permit, which required the pollutant reductions, is set to expire in 2023. No decisions have been made on what pollutant requirements will be included or whether they will be new requirements or a continuation of previous ones. Once those decisions are made, well before the 23 expiration date, we will advise permittees of the procedures. In addition to that contact, I did reach out to PSATs to pursue their lobbying efforts in this regard.
Yep.
That's ongoing. I've been emailing back and forth and trying to make sure that they understand what the issue is for us. I've also had contact with Representative Greiner and talked with him about it. So
Yeah.
those efforts have taken place.
Yeah. I believe there was an article maybe 2 Sundays ago in the Lancaster newspapers about the bullseye essentially on Lancaster County. I think it was a Sunday paper. Get the paper. Yeah. So, I mean, clearly it's a topic of discussion. I'm sure, let's see what State Rep Greiner says.
I was glad to hear that this individual
Yeah.
said there were others who were
Yes,
inquiring.
exactly. Yeah.
I think we need to keep the
Right.
conversation going.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
To know that our state government may not consider this to be something that they would bring up and say, hey, we're gonna
Right.
reconsider this.
Right.
But with local governments coming forward,
Yeah.
I think they can't help but respond with something. So I think we should keep the pressure up.
Agreed. Yep. Yep.
We can do that. I do want to make sure the board understands from staff's perspective, 2023 is here.
Soon. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we-
Projects have to start.
We can't stop
Right.
on
Right.
our efforts to
Yeah.
meet those requirements. Because if we stop at this point, we won't
Right.
meet them. And if they don't change anything, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is the appropriate time to talk about, although we don't exactly have it on the agenda. I know Mr. Smucker and Mr. Duncan have been at this meeting a few times. They were at the Sewer Authority on this past week, I guess, last week.
Wednesday of last week.
Wednesday. Can you just give us a summary of sort of where that is, what the feeling of that meeting was?
Sure. You're correct. Both Mr. Duncan and Mr. Smucker were present at the
Yeah.
Sewer Authority meeting. It gave essentially the same presentation that they did to the Board of Supervisors. The Sewer Authority had much the same reaction as the Board of Supervisors did, in my estimation. Very sympathetic, very concerned, willing to continue the conversation about how to address it. So, I mean, that's the sense that I got.
Right. So current state for the fees and penalties for the sewer, not stormwater, for the sewer bill, we're now out. We now just approved third quarter, no penalties and fees for that
Through the end of March.
through the end of March. So at some point, we will probably have to have a discussion about the fourth quarter. Did I hear that they made a recommendation for 2021 for all 2021, or or is that stormwater fee?
That was the stormwater fee. Mr.
Okay.
Smucker's proposal was
Yep.
that all the stormwater fee be
Okay.
suspended, if you will,
Okay. Yep.
for all of 2021.
Okay. And you're saying the sewer authority was understanding of, or wanted to listen, wanted to hear more, and sympathetic to that.
Absolutely,
Yep.
they were.
Yep.
Shared the
Yep.
concerns that the board has
Okay.
with where those business places are
Yep.
in pandemic.
Okay, that's
Um,
helpful.
I did, along those lines, also reach out to the township solicitor about
Mhm.
the proposal to offer a credit.
Yep.
I did provide a copy of her memo. to
For the
board
sewer
members.
bill, for sewer specifically.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
Okay.
correct.
Yep.
And her view was that there's a legal concern
Yep.
there about uniformity.
yep. So we essentially, in her mind, we would have to, if we were going to do some sort of credit or discount, you'd have to give it to all users of the sewer.
Yes,
Okay,
which is doable. I mean,
Yeah.
if that is something that the
Right.
board wants to do, that is doable.
right. Okay, well, I'm fine having a discussion now about it if, with the information we have
Yeah.
in front of us, we don't
Yeah.
clearly have,
Yeah.
spreadsheets of, all details, but
Sure.
I'm
Sure.
happy to,
So we're talking about
Yeah, let's talk-
two specific items.
Yes.
One is
yes,
the implementation costs of our new stormwater efforts and our stormwater
Yeah.
fee. And the second is the sewer processing and flow fees that people pay on a quarterly basis, our businesses pay on a quarterly basis.
and residents.
And residents pay
Yeah.
on a quarterly basis,
Yeah.
yes.
Both,
And-
both are quarterly, but yes,
Yeah.
sanitary versus storm.
Yep, correct.
Let's talk about sanitary first.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
so let's talk about sanitary. So the sanitary council is saying a bit of a concern, perhaps, going beyond the reduction of penalties and things of that nature.
Well, the concern was about setting up a credit arrangement
Just for
that would
businesses.
offer a credit to some users, but not
Right,
to other
right.
users.
There's uniformity
Right.
issue.
Correct. And we currently have, the uniformity we now have on that is that everyone has a grace period for payments and for the forgiveness of late fees.
Correct.
And that's uniform across everyone's.
Yeah.
Are we
Yeah.
seeing, people take advantage of that, Ralph? Is that?
There are some. I would say it's not a large number, but there are definitely some that have taken advantage of that. I would also say that there are some chronic non-payers
Mhm.
that continue to not pay.
Yeah.
And so they're benefiting
Yeah.
by that as well.
But are they just benefiting for that quarter? So meaning if they didn't pay in 2019, we might have a lien or something else.
Yes, that's
There's still penalty on that.
correct.
It's just for that balance that was accrued during that quarter?
That's right.
Okay.
And then the second portion then would be on the stormwater, as the businesses have been asking us at this point.
Right.
That's not uniform at this point. We would need to look at something that is uniform. It would have to apply to all property owners who are subject to the fee.
I think the answer is yes, but I want to be clear that
We asked about
as of
sanitary.
now, there's been no credit or reduction or.
Right. We haven't done anything with the
penalties,
stormwater fee.
interest or
Yep.
anything on the
Yep.
Yeah.
stormwater fee.
Yeah.
If we did
Yeah.
anything, it would have to be, council is saying, you need to seek uniformity.
Right. The other point of clarification, and of course, you work closely with the sewer authority, but
Yep.
if anybody's going to take action on the
Right.
stormwater fee, it
Right.
has to be the.
Sure.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think this discussion for the stormwater fee was just more to give them direction. Hey, it's their decision, but, they often, I'm sure they would appreciate any input.
I believe they would.
Okay,
If the
good.
board has
Okay.
some input for them, they would.
Yep. So let's
appreciate
take a step back. Sanitary sewer. We legal counsel is saying we need to be uniform. We can't just, give a 10%, 30%, 50% discount just to restaurants that were hit by COVID. Can't do it. That's going to get us into common pleas court or worse. So if we would want to do some sort of discount or credit, we would have to give it to uniform across all sewer customers. So the question that I have to this board is, are we interested in giving some sort of discount or credit, however you want to word it, uniformly across all sanitary sewer customers?
If we were to offer something, Ralph, that would be uniform, but it would be if you would like to take advantage of this, it's here for you, and here's how you can take advantage of this. Some people, some ratepayers decide to take advantage of it and some don't.
I guess from an administrative perspective, I would ask you not to pursue that direction. That's going
So
to
it's
be,
easier just to code
a
one
lot of
thing,
work.
10% off, everyone gets 5% or whatever the percentage is. That's administratively,
that would be easier
Okay.
administratively.
okay. I'm smiling under here, John.
I mean, our costs don't go down much. We've already talked about this. Our costs don't go down much,
That's true.
you know,
Um,
so
The,
I'd like to look at it. Could you say, yeah, it's 25% of your 2021 fees are pushed into 2022. You're gonna still have to pay for it in 2022.
Mhm.
Yeah. As a resident with one EDU, I'm paying it all in 2021.
Right.
But if you want to do that, because the expenses aren't going down that much.
right. That's true. Expenses didn't go down that much. But the sewer fund is healthy.
Yeah.
And I think if the board wanted to provide some credit, the question in my mind would be if, for example, a 10% credit to everyone is so small that it's not, I hesitate to say, but not worth considering, then maybe something else ought to be looked at. But 10% of a $95
$9
per quarter, maybe that's, and for business people, of course, 10%, for
Right.
their bill is going to be more dollars than,
Yeah.
but your average single family home, you're talking $9.50 a quarter.
Right. $36. Dave?
I don't have a dog in this hunt because I got an on-lot system. However,
Yes.
yeah, I think I could support 10% if the
Mhm.
fund's healthy.
Yep.
It's going to impact restaurants because
Yep.
of the seating, their
Right.
EDUs and motels. I understand that's going to help them more
Right.
than it's going to help an individual
Right.
homeowner. I'm fine with that.
Yep. So, and Ethan, do you have any comments?
I'm with Dave.
Okay, yeah. So I guess just some clarity. I'm also with Dave. I just want to make sure I understand. The next bill that goes out is, I think I just paid one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So the next bill, 3 months is essentially
April, the next quarterly bill would go out beginning of April. And that would be for
January.
February,
Got it. Okay. So I guess just for clarity, my thought, I'll put this out there, would be that we start with that bill because that's 2021. We're not going to retro back to past bills that haven't been paid yet, essentially. So it's the next bill that would go out, we would put in 10% discount for COVID and it would go uniformly across the board. Yeah.
Did you pick 10% for a reason?
Yes.
That's a variable cost, isn't it?
That's roughly our variable cost.
There you go.
Yeah.
Then that's a good justifiable reason for doing it.
Okay.
Kind of way I looked at it.
Yeah, and back to the penalties and fees, again, we know we can quickly have a meeting, have a discussion, and pass a resolution to change that when we need to. So I'm in favor of the 10%. Would you like a motion for that?
We will have to prepare
A resolution. Okay,
to
so
modify, so
board,
we'll do that for
yeah,
the next meeting.
okay, sounds good. Okay, anyone, I see some neighbors and friends up there, and any comments from anyone related to the subject? Okay, thank you. Thanks for a lot of homework. The solicitor doing, great job, frankly, on the legal advice as well. So, okay. Next on the agenda, we have Lincoln Highway Streetscape Implementation Report.
Yes, we have our 6 streetscape plan projects that are underway in various phases of development. The Rockvale Trail project, what we've been calling Phase 3, which is that portion of the corridor east of the Tanger Dutch Wonderland intersection. The Western Gateway project, which is essentially between Strasburg Pike and Oakview Road. the 896 intersection, and the trail from Strasburg Pike to South Oakview, and then most recently starting with the branding, gateway signage, wayfinding project. Also a number of private development projects which continue their improvements that were recommended. We did have a meeting on the 8th with our design engineer to review the status of those efforts. We typically are doing that monthly now. We continue to work towards completion of those as quickly as we can. We have been communicating with the design folks who are involved with the Western Gateway project. We had received a set of preliminary plans back in the early fall. We provided a number of comments with concerns that staff had about the preliminary design that had been prepared and it not being consistent with the streetscape plan. We shared those with those folks in early November. We received their response to those today. So we're in the process of going over those and hope to continue to work with them to get those plans to be what we want them to be, consistent with the streetscape plan. So that's where we are with those efforts currently.
Good. Great. Thank you. Any questions for Hutch on that? Okay, we have D, Walnut Street Extension, Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway report.
Again, staff continues to work at these. We get updated plans periodically, and we're going over those. I did ask the township engineer to provide us with a little bit of assistance in looking at what we might do at the end of Oak Grove Drive to deal with what we see as a future concern about parking need in that area. So we're looking at that and what might be best there. There was something else I wanted to say about that project.
The February 1st. They're coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We put in the newsletter and on the website.
Great.
At your next meeting, there'll be a presentation. And we've asked people to join by Zoom because we're limited here. And hopefully we will do that. I've asked our IT staff to help me with anticipating that we have a lot of people on Zoom to help me sort of navigate all of that. So you may see another face, or they may be able to do that remotely. So we'll work through all that as to be prepared and ready for that.
Excellent.
Ralph, I understand there was a conversation with Solid Waste Authority on the Heritage Pathway.
Bob, actually, Corey set up arrangements, and we had contact with Bob Zorbaugh from the Solid Waste Authority, and they're very interested in trying to help. They do have programs where they focus dollars towards community efforts. Most of those funds are dedicated to projects over the next few years. So they're not able to necessarily put dollars in right away, but they offered assistance with writing grants and doing other things to try to help. So we're definitely going to lean on them where we can.
Yeah, and in addition, Neil Salerno, CEO of Eurofins Lancaster, also wrote a letter in support of the Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway as well.
Awesome.
Very appreciative of that. Yeah. So,
great.
They have a lot of great green sustainability projects. They have a head of sustainability and a few people sort of working on things. And she in particular actually rides her bike to work from the city to probably Willow Road, all around all the areas, and then right up Geist to the campus there. So
can we possibly get an invite to businesses and organizations that would be possibly impacted, meaning DART Worship Center, Eurofins? There'd be a way to reach out and say, hey, we've got this meeting on the 1st and we'd like to update you on this, or possible to do that.
I'm sure we could. all the ones that you mentioned aren't in East Lampeter. And candidly, the response from Upper Lake Hawk hasn't been warm.
Maybe we should invite Upper Lake Hawk Township supervisors to this meeting. And Mike? Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
welcome that. Let's invite the township manager and Upper Lake Hawk and their board. And,
Right. Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
Owners,
Like
have-
WJL.
owners of Funks, the owners.
Okay.
there was one other thing I wanted to
Sure,
mention.
please.
Tara and I participated in a virtual meeting set up by Mike Doman
Yeah.
at County Planning. There were a whole bunch of other city folks and other municipal representatives. And we talked about the entire corridor for the pathway from the west
Yeah.
side of town through the goat path. And
Yeah.
very interesting to hear all the efforts that are going
Yeah.
on to try and piece this together. And so that's going to be an ongoing
Yeah.
group
Good.
working on this.
If Mike could join the February 1st meeting, or if he wants to join a separate meeting, I just think, like, keep topics of similar, I mean, it's essentially the same topic.
It would be, I think, beneficial to the project in our township.
Yep.
That when we're doing them, to cast the net a little bit wider to
Right.
all interested parties.
Sure.
So that
Yeah.
we could give the public an opportunity to
Right.
participate and to hear it, so.
Right. Because frankly, people don't know where municipal lines are. I think everyone's looking at this project again as a regional, project from, hopefully Monterey all the way to the suburban pavilion in East Hempfield. So yeah, that's great. I'm excited. Hopefully keep moving. Anything else, Hutch?
No.
John, did you do something to say? Yeah.
Yeah, are you, is that it, Ralph? That's your report? Yeah, before we
That's all I have.
adjourn, before we adjourn, I should have said this, I guess, at the very beginning, but the public didn't decrease a whole lot between now and then. So if I can, Mr. Chairman,
Sure,
I just
please.
feel like a need to just read this if I can. I put this together earlier over the weekend and just take a few moments to just personally expand upon some of the coverage about my personal decision-making related to my affiliation with a political party and the way I'm choosing to handle that situation. I've spent my life as a Republican, 54 years old, been voting for 37 years or so. Certainly affiliated with a partisan organization and put myself out there to the community, 2 primary elections, 2 general elections as a township supervisor. And I recognize that the public did vote for me as a Republican candidate. And I watched the events of January 6th as everybody else did and was stunned beyond what I ever would have seen in this country. And so I felt it necessary that I say something and to say that is absolutely not what I am or doesn't represent me. The intention behind that was so horrendous. My thoughts, my feelings were tortured even more when I found out that it was coming after President Trump had made this statement, from a stage in front of the White House, and several other members, I believe, Congress people or senators were there as well too. And I knew I couldn't sit back. I knew there was no way I could not say or do something. And I've tried not to be volatile about it. And I've tried not to be nasty about it. And I'm not going to do that. It's not who I am. But I couldn't continue to call myself a public official representing the Republican Party that I have for 35 years in many ways, running campaigns, raising money, being appointed to boards and authorities, but it just couldn't. And so I felt like, the public in my community, my neighbors who had voted for me in a primary as a Republican, and in the general election, I just felt that I needed to let them know that I've not changed. There's nothing about me that has changed. There's not a principle or an ideal that has changed. And they voted for me, and I'll continue to serve this second term with all the intention, all the honor to commit and to serve my neighbors as I did when I ran. And I'm the same person I am. I'm no longer a member of the Republican Party, but I remain the same person that I was, and I will be till the end of my term. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate
Thank you.
that.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Dave.
Ethan, any comments?
Nope.
Dave?
Nope.
Thank you. Thank you for your continued friendship as well. I did write a quick statement, not as eloquent as Mr. Blowers. I'll read it briefly and then hopefully we'll adjourn unless there's any other public comment. As a township supervisor, our duties are clear. The second-class township code says a township supervisor is charged with the general governance of the township and the execution of legislative, executive, and administrative powers in order to ensure sound fiscal management and to secure the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the township. Furthermore, the code reads, every person elected or appointed to any township office shall, before assuming the duties of the office, take and subscribe an oath or affirmation to support the constitutions of the United States and of the Commonwealth and to perform the duties of the office with fidelity. I can assure you my change of political affiliation, and my guess is that Supervisors Demi and Blowers feel the same way, that the change of letter at the end of our names has absolutely no bearing on the oath we all took and the duties that we are responsible for. I'm sure to some of our decisions in the past and frankly in the future will be seen as liberal, or some might believe our decisions are conservative, but I can tell you that the decisions we have made and will make will be solely based on ensuring sound fiscal management and securing the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the township. Again, I thank you. Any other comments from anyone, Hutch?
Nothing here.
Okay, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second by Ethan. All those any other comment? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion